Good afternoon, Professor
Good
Jagadeesh Kumar.
afternoon, Aniruddhan.
So I'm very honored and happy to have this interaction session with you. Maybe I'll start by requesting you to talk about your how your interaction with IITM started, IIT Madras.
Okay, basically, I am from a village which is about 80 kilometers from Chennai, and my ancestors are all farmers, up to my grandfather. My grandfather moved to Chennai, to North Madras, and he was still a farmer, but he started living in Chennai and looking after farming
Okay.
also. My father studied at St. Joseph's School in Velachery, and after he completed schooling, immediately got a job in Chennai Corporation, where he retired as a manager. And so I spent all my younger years in North Chennai, in a place called Perambur, and I studied in a government school in Tamil medium.
Okay.
And in those days it was 11 plus 1 plus 5. 11 years of schooling called SSLC, then 1 year PUC, pre-university course, and 5 years of engineering.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, I was third or fourth in the school when I finished SSLC. Then I joined pre-university, which was very short, 1 year, and I had really tough time adjusting. Because from Tamil medium, the pre-university was in English. So it was really a difficult task for me. And I really wanted to do chemistry. I was really fascinated by chemistry. So after schooling, I joined BSc chemistry. But one of my teachers, right from the beginning, I always had this habit of being the pet boy of the teacher, right? In the school also, I was pet boy. You know about Professor Shankaran and Professor Vijay Murthy, Professor Bapeshwara, Professor Ishwaran, Maji. They all treated me like almost their son. So school also, I had quite a few teachers with whom I used to interact outside of the academics. Right? So there was one Mr. Kandapillai, who was the English teacher for me, and he said, no, you have to study engineering. Because when I was in school, I also got interested in electronics, and basically anything in the house. I overhauled our grandfather wall clock. I repaired our wall tube radio without knowing anything, right? So I opened it up, went to a radio mechanic, asked him all sorts of questions, then bought the spare parts, fixed it, had my first electrical shock when I was about 14 years, and repaired the radio. It was a Murphy radio. So he said, you have to go to engineering, and in fact he went and bought the engineering application form. So I did not buy, my father did not buy, he bought the application form, sat with me, filled it, and submitted it. And I went for the interview, and I was not really keen because by the time I had already started going to BSc chemistry for 1 month. Even today it happens, the engineering admissions are always at the end, right? It's always delayed. Yes. So my BSc chemistry started sometime middle of June, and end of July came the engineering admission, and I got admitted into College of Engineering, Gindi. In those days, admission only is given. The branch you choose after 2 years. The first 2 years is common for all branches.
Okay.
Right? And that was also a blessing in disguise, because I learned a lot in other disciplines. For example, we had 2 drawing classes, mechanical drawing separately and civil drawing. Right?
Okay.
And I had even done survey. Right? I know how to use a theodolite.
Okay.
Right? How to make the maps. Right? So 5 years. So every semester 5 subjects and 2 or 3 laboratories. So when I joined College of Engineering Guindy, the first semester was really very tough for me. Two reasons. I was really puny. I mean, today I look very bulky. At that time, I weighed only 43 kilograms and really very thin. And I was a day scholar, so I used to wake up at 6:30 in the morning, catch the 7:30 train to Sedapet, and from Sedapet I used to walk to the college. And as soon as the college is over, I'll just go back, crash, right? So it so happened that my performance in the first semester was not really that good. So that was a, I mean, real shock for me, because I always thought, I mean, getting marks in examination was no big deal, right? But that was tough. I mean, the first time I started feeling that I have to study. But second semester onwards, I sort of got adjusted to, you get acclimatized to the way you live. Then I picked up. By the time I came to the fourth semester, I had sort of a decent marks. There's no CGPA, right? It will be percentage marks. So I got electronics and communication. Then I had a lot of what do you call it? Enthusiasm, and started learning electronics and communication. And at the end of third year, I thought I have learned nothing. Because the curriculum, I mean, curriculum and what you want to do. My hobby in electronics, of course, continued. I built a very small transistor radio at the time when I was in third year. But I was not even taught what transistor was. Right? That came only in my fourth year.
I see.
So anyway, I was not very happy with the engineering education I had in my bachelor's. Even after I completed, I thought I learned. I mean, I'm not an electronics engineer to that extent. Then I applied for jobs as well as higher education. I got placed in Blue Star Electronics. Then I got MTech in ME in Applied Electronics in PhD Tech Coimbatore. And I also got IIT Madras MTech. So I chose to do MTech in IIT Madras. In fact, IIT Madras, the first time I entered IIT Madras was as a trespasser. So I had to go to Taramani village. At that time, it was a Taramani village. From College of Engineering, there was only one bus called 5T, right? Which used to be one bus in every hour or so, and many times you will not get a bus for 2 hours, right? So I inquired around, and they said, no, you just walk across, go to IIT gate, take the IIT bus, and get down at the last stop, go through the back door, and you get Taramani. Okay, so that is how I started coming into IIT, and I also went to our library at the time. It was open. It's not like you have to have access.
Okay.
Right? It's completely open at the time. And College of Engineering Guindy also had a very good library. I mean, 250-year-old college. So, but there were very nice books at IIT, and more importantly, there were a lot of magazines, not the IEEE journals. I was not introduced at the time. So I, before entering IIT Madras as a sponsor, I did not know IIT existed. That was the first time. I still remember it is November 14, 1977. Right?
Wow.
And so I decided to write the entrance exam. In fact, I wrote only 2 entrance exams, one for IIT Madras and IIT Kharagpur together. There was no gate at the time. It was called CIPA, Competitive Examination for Postgraduate Admissions. Right? Only few IITs took part, and later it became GATE.
Okay.
So to cut short, I joined IIT Madras, and I went to the chairman council of wardens, Professor Ganeshan, and gave an application. He said, "Oh, you are from Chennai, you won't get hostel." That was a big shock for me, because 5 years I've been waking up at 6:30 in the morning, right? Traveling 25 kilometers up, 25 kilometers down. I thought at least in IIT I will. He said there is a crunch in the hostel sector, so Chennaiites will not get hostel. So I followed the same routine. The only thing is, this time I brought a cycle which my father gave when I was in school, and kept it at the gate, and I used to come up to the gate, and from gate I used to cycle. By the way, at the time, Saidapet to IIT was 5 paise was the bus
For the bus charge. Okay.
So 2 months it was really very difficult, because IIT in those days used to start at 8. I mean, now also we start at 8, right? And this was a contrast to 9 o'clock of college engineering. So I had to really, and the thing is, I was missing Professor Radhakrishnan Rao's class, which I really loved.
Okay.
I didn't want to miss, but you know, sometimes buses run late, trains run late. So I went and sat in front of Professor Ganeshan's office. I said, "This is very difficult for me. Even if you allow me to sleep on the veranda, I will sleep. Give me hostel accommodation." Then he said, "I'll put you in doubles. You'll have to share your." I said, "No problem." So I was allotted Kaveri Hostel, room number 201, and my roommate was another College of Engineering Hindi person. So we got along, and I started attending classes, and at the end of the first semester, again I had a very big shock. I did not fail in any subject, but the marks were really pretty low.
Okay.
Right? My CGPA was something like 6 plus, 6.1 or 6.2. Because the system was different. In College of Engineering Hindi, what I got used to when I came to this thing is, you look at 5 years of question paper, prepare the answers, you will get 80-90%.
Did they still have the final exam only for all the marks?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
Yes.
And IIT had like a continuous assessment, just like it is now?
Yes.
Okay.
There will
Okay.
be surprise quizzes.
Okay.
So then I had to again change the way that I study. I also understood that mugging up will not work, because there is no descriptive questions, you know. Right?
Yes.
So it's always a problem. I have to solve problems, and if you want to get marks, you know how to solve problems. Right? So then I started changing my way of learning, and I actually learned.
Okay.
So when I started learning exactly how a transistor works, and what are all the difficulties, how to design with transistors, which I did not get in my BTech. Right? It was similar with other subjects, and as I said, I did electronics and communication. So I sort of decided to go in communication, but in the third semester, I took a course under Professor Kumar. It was called Precision Electrical Measurements, and this was a very nice course. I mean, there was no textbook. I had taught the course later also. There were no textbooks. It was all research, right? Outcome of research, and almost 50% of the research was done at Fundamentals and Measurements Laboratory.
Oh, I see.
Today we call Measurements and Instrumentation Laboratory. In those days, it used to be christened as Fundamentals and Measurements Laboratory. And Professor Shankaran's PhD work, Professor Bapeshwar's PhD work, Professor Kaliyuga Vardhan's PhD work, all those were part of the course. And the way Professor Vijayamurthy taught it, for me it was really fascinating, and I fell in love with measurements. Right? And so when I completed my MTech, I wanted to do PhD in measurements.
Okay.
Because I have seen all these nuances, the nice things that people have developed. So I went to Professor Shankaran. I initially went to Professor VGK Murthy. Professor VGK Murthy said that I am not taking students, so talk to Professor Shankaran. And I went to Professor Shankaran. He said, yes, you attend the interview. If you are successful, I'll take you as my student. I attended the interview, and the interview at that time, I mean, now students are complaining, oh, this is tough. There would be a panel, right? Some 7, 8, 9, 10 people. I don't know.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I don't remember. I mean, it was a huge number of people. And students will be ragged. Literally. I mean,
okay.
I do understand that that was the way people are selected. And the positions were at a premium. For the entire electrical department, there were only 3 PhD positions.
I see. Right? Okay.
So after the interview, myself, Vishwas Odpikar and Sukumar, 3 people were selected. Sukumar joined in communication. Odpikar joined under Professor Reina in fiber optics and signal processing, and I joined under Professor Shankaran. And so Professor Shankaran gave me a problem and saying, start working. And he also told me, go to library, start taking transactions on instrumentation measurement. Start from the most recent issue, go through the papers. I am sure many you will not be able to understand. If you understand one paper completely, come back and tell me. Right? Till then, you don't have to meet. So I went to library, started producing transactional instrumentation measurement, and this was in 1978. So I finished 78, 79, 77. I mean, I just couldn't understand what is written there. I mean, understand is I can read English, but the subject, what they actually have done, I was not able to get to know. So then I decided, okay, by this time 3 months. So I was little bit panicking because I couldn't meet my guide, right? Unless otherwise I have something I cannot meet him, no? So then I thought I'll take the help of Professor VGK Murthy. So I went to Professor VGK Murthy's room. At that time, Professor VGK Murthy and Professor Bhapesh Rao were talking inside, and I was standing outside till they finish and Professor Bhapesh Rao leave. I can get in. And they were talking about a lot of other things. And suddenly I heard this one sentence. Professor VGK Murthy was telling Professor Bhapesh Rao, of late, transactions on circuits and systems, half the paper I am not able to understand. Right? That hit me. I mean, if Professor VGK Murthy cannot understand half the papers, okay, no big deal, I will try. So I did not even meet Professor VGK Murthy. I went back to library, and in 1976 there was a paper by Professor M. Sharma. That was my first actual research work. I could understand exactly what he has done. So I reversed it 2-3 times. In those days there is no Xerox, right? There is no photocopy, nothing. So I actually wrote the entire paper in my hand and brought it to Professor Shankaran and gave it to him and said, I know about this work, you can ask me. Then Professor Shankaran said, no, you go to laboratory and recreate what he has done. Okay. I thought, what is this? This is already done, why is he asking me to do this research? I said, anyway, I'll do it, it's not a big deal. I went, and it was a 1-step 1:1000 inductive voltage divider. using op-amps.
Okay.
I completed all the preparation of the experiment and switched on. It didn't work.
Okay.
I tried again for 5 weeks. Nothing worked. I did not know what mistake I was doing. Then I thought I'll ask Professor Radhakrishna. So I took the circuit, went to Professor Radhakrishna's room. It was in the mezzanine floor of and he listened to me completely. And then he said, the op-amp that you are using will not work because it has only a slew rate of 0.1 volt per microsecond. For this to work, you need at least 2-3 volts per microsecond op-amp. And he suggested, I think it is 3046 Motorola op-amp, which had 12 volts per microsecond. That was the first time I learned that apart from bandwidth, slew rate is also very, very important, right? So I came back. Fortunately, our department at that time was very well stocked, thanks to the German.
Okay. So sourcing these components was not difficult.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was an organization called GTZ, Gesellschaft Technische Zeitschrift. You send a request to them, they will buy and sell it back to you. So I got the chip in maybe 2 weeks or so. I completely made it working, and in fact that was put in one of the open houses later. It was really nice. I mean, it's then I also started working on transient analysis of current transformers. I was going nowhere, and in the meantime, because of my interest in electronics, I also started doing a lot of other things. I used to build a lot of electronic stuff for my friends, and I also learned because 1977, I think Intel introduced the 8085, and we had one 8085 kit, and Professor Maji bought a 6500 kit from Rockwell, and Professor Bapeshrav had a 6809 kit gifted to him by somebody else. So I had access to all this.
Okay.
And we had 2 computers in the department. One was called the PDP level. That was really nice. The first set of boot sequence you will have to actually load by using switches. There will be 16 switches, right? First instruction 10101001, login 10101. So you'll have to put the 16 bytes of boot instruction, then only it will start.
Okay.
Okay. And it has a nice teletype entry terminal. And Professor VCV Pratap Reddy was the custodian of that. By the way, now we have roughly about 4 or 5 streams in the department. At that time, there were only 4. And the nice thing about those 4 was they were named after the power system phases.
Okay.
Right? R, Y, B, and neutral.
Oh, I see.
Neutral was electronics.
Okay.
RN. Second.
Okay.
Even if you look at some old equipment or old catalogs, you will see RN written there. Right? RN was electronics, and R phase was measurement slab, measurements and control. And RS was machines, and RT was high voltage and power systems. So I started learning about microcontrollers and microprocessors on my own. I also started building. There were a couple, Ranjana Shukla and Mr. Shukla, who were actually developing microcontroller kits. So I also worked with them, worked under them, not with them. They were developing a kit based on Zilog Z80 processor. With those things, I was trying to do my PhD. By this time, 2 years was over, and I had nothing to show except that I had cracked M. Sherman's research and I could replicate it. Right? I used to discuss with Professor Shankaran, and I sort of, as I said, thought maybe research is not my cup of tea. Started applying. I got a job in ISRO, and one fine morning I went to Professor Shankaran and said, I got a job in ISRO. I don't think I'm not getting any results. So I don't want to waste any more time. I am going to join ISRO. And Professor Shankaran said, no, you can't leave just like that. We'll talk to Professor VGK. Then VGK said, you give me a presentation. So then Professor VGK Murthy, Professor Bapeshwar Rao, Professor Shankaran, and Professor Ishwar, 4 of them were there. And I told them what I have done. I mean, the problem is at that point of time we didn't have the kind of software that we have now to tackle transient analysis, which is very complicated mathematics. Right? And it cannot be done. There is no analytical solution. You have to have a numerical solution. And so the problem is I could solve on IBM 370, but that took, it's offline. You can't ask an IBM 370 to analyze a current transformer, right? It is useless. So it has to be done with some small system like a microcontroller or microprocessor. So at the end of the presentation, Professor VGK said, "You are doing well. Why do you want to quit?" And he said, "Work for one more year, and if you don't get results, you can find a job. And the best," he said, "you write a letter to ISRO saying that ask them to give you time." So I wrote a letter to ISRO, and I was so half-minded. I got a reply from ISRO saying that, with respect to your unsigned letter, I forgot to sign it. But I just wrote a simple, I may please be given 1 year joining time. We are pleased to tell you that you will be given 1 year time. We joined the next batch. So then Professor Shankaran called me, and he said, you also work parallelly on another topic. So he gave me testing of transformer course, which was actually my cup of tea. That involved analog circuits, op-amps, right? Which I was good at. I think I'm still good at it. So within 6 months, we got our first IEEE transactions data. Transactions on magnetics, use of a voltage follower to ensure sinusoidal flux in the core. And of course, I dropped the idea of going for a job, continued, and this was 1983. By 1983, I don't exactly remember, November or December, Professor Shankaran called me and said, by the time I had built up a lot of microprocessor stuff at measurements lab itself. I converted a teletype. We had a teletype machine that as the input-output machine. I learned, fired up digit baud code, interfaced it to the kit, and so he said, we want to learn microprocessor, teach us. It was really scary. I thought, okay, these people don't know microprocessor. I know microprocessor, so I will teach them. So I prepared. It was Friday evening, 4 o'clock was the class. Right? Our 314.
Okay.
314. So I went there. In those days, there's no PowerPoint, nothing, right? You'll have to write it on a OHP sheet and project it and talk. So I prepared, started talking about microprocessor, the different kinds, the register-based, memory-based architecture. Then at the end of the class, Professor VGK came and said, "Oh, it is very nice. We will meet you next Friday at 4 o'clock." Next Friday, 4 o'clock, I went there. There was only Professor Vijay Murthy and Professor Shankaran. Professor Bhapesh Rao, Professor Ishwaran were absent. I hesitated, said, no, you go ahead. So then I started talking about instruction set. And that class was also over. The third week, Friday, I went there. Only Professor Vijay Murthy was sitting. Professor Shankaran was also not there. And I looked at him. He said, Jagadeesh Kumar, next week advertisement for a faculty position is coming, please apply. So that was the time that I understood that these people are testing me whether I can teach or not. Right? And in fact, even today, I think that is the best honor I got. That I always used to imagine them as Mumurthigal, Professor Vijay Murthy, Professor Bhapesh Rao, and Professor Shankaran, adjudging me as teacher. Okay? But I was not convinced that I am teaching is my profession, to be my profession. I always thought I will be an engineer, manufacture something, develop something. And so anyway, I prepared well, attended the interview, and I got appointment in April. I didn't join. Right? By the time I was also very busy with finishing my PhD. So May, June, so June end, Professor Vijay Murthy called me and said, Jagadeesh Kumar, you got your appointment? Yes. Why are you not joining? Then, because somehow you always have, you can interact with Professor Vijay Murthy very casually. For a very long time, I could not do it with Professor Shankar. Right? That guide student. Whereas with Professor Vijay Murthy could always be cordial. And also I did a lot of teaching assistantship with Professor Vijay Murthy. So I expressed my doubt is why you join. If you don't like it, you can quit after 1 year. That's the same thing he did last year. I thought, okay, that seems to be a fair this thing. So, and 4th July, I joined as a senior scientific officer. And the first shock was that semester I was given measurements course. In those years, measurements were taught in 2 semesters. Measurements 1 and measurements 2. Measurement 1 was completely electrical measurements. Measurement 2 was electronic measurements. And in those days, all core courses were taught by 2 teachers, parallel. 2 class will be split into 2. 2 teachers will teach the same. And the person who was supposed to teach the other half of the class was Professor Vijay Murthy. So then I went to Professor Vijay Murthy and told him, sir, I cannot teach this unless otherwise you help me. And he told me there is no problem. All days where there is classes, you come at 7:30, we'll sit together, we'll go through what we are going to teach. So I sort of went through that. I was under a lot of stress, to be frank, right? Because I knew that I am going to be trounced by students. But I also did take a lot of pains for preparing the class, going there, and also Professor Vijay just said, half an hour you tell me what are all the things to be touched and how to teach and so on. So at the end of the semester, when the student feedback came, I couldn't believe it. Even today, I think something, some information was given to the students or something happened. I got a feedback more than Professor Vijay. Then of course, I said, okay, if the students think that I'm a good teacher, I will continue. And by this time, I also applied for a project, and that was another great thing. So I wanted to develop digital instrumentation. So I put up a project proposal to MHRD, and the total cost of the project was somewhere around 9 lakhs. I mean, 9 lakhs in those days was a huge amount. My salary was 700 rupees anyway. And I took it to Professor Narayan Rao, who was the head of the department. I showed it to Professor Shankaran, VGK Murthy, they all okayed it. And Professor Narayan Rao took the thing, he just cut all the numbers, he just increased it by 50%, and the total came to something like 17 lakhs. So I was a bit scared. I said, if somebody asks me, I know this is actual cost. If somebody asks me, why did you put this cost? He said, Jagadeesh Kumar, I know, just correct it and bring it back to me. So I corrected it, gave it back to the HOD, and the project was sanctioned with 8.5 lakhs. Exactly 50% of what we have asked for. 17 lakhs we asked, the government gave 8.5 lakhs.
Okay.
Which was okay because my original plan was 9 lakhs, right? So we bought a lot of nice stuff, and I started working, and the next problem was getting PhD students. 84 I joined. After I joined, I started concentrating on teaching, so I couldn't complete my thesis. So in 85, Professor Shankaran paralleled with me. He put his name along with me. And then when I was about to go to the class, he said, no, nothing, till you finish your PhD thesis, this semester is off for you. I will teach for you. Right? So one semester he taught, I mean, he took my load so that I can complete my PhD. And so I submitted my thesis and got my this thing, got elevated to lecturer, then assistant professor, associate professor, and professor later. So I was hoping to get a PhD student, but no one was interested in the measurements and instrumentation. Right? So it took almost 3-4 years for me to get my first PhD student, Dr. Atmanan, who became Director of National Institute of Ocean Technology later. He was my first PhD student, and he came from Fluid Control Research Institute, Palakkad. Then I started working. After Atmanan joined, again 4 years, there was not a single PhD student willing to come to this area. Right? And the second student was Joseph Suresh Paul. He was our own MTech. Atmanan was also our own MTech, like me. After he joined, he said, instrumentation, power systems, I am not interested. I want to work in biomedical and signal processing. So then I told him, I don't know anything in biomedical, I don't know anything in signal processing. Then another student joined, Ramananda Rao. He also said, I want to work in biomedical. Then I had a very frank talk with both these guys, saying that I am willing to learn, but it is your career. You are taking a big risk. And he said, no sir, we can do things. So then I started veering away in biomedical instrumentation. Then of course I also had the big fortune of meeting Professor Blaschek in Germany. And his specialization in biomedical engineering. Even today, this is sometime during 1997 or 98. So now we have something like 30 years. We still have very strong collaboration with the same group. Right? After Professor Blaschek, Professor Stefan Leonard took over, and Bobby and Mohan,
Yes, of course.
including myself, we still have strong
Very
collaboration
strong,
with
yeah.
them. The nice thing is not just our students went to Germany to do research. German students came here and did research, and we published papers together. We also published a book on applications of photography personography, which was released by Springer. So that's almost my entire life at IIT Madras. The nice thing was I had seen IIT Madras really go from a small institution with emphasis only for teaching to a huge institution. I mean, to Indians scenario, we are a big university. Because the first time I got really bowled over was when I went to Germany in 1986. I went to a university called the University of Hannover. 40,000 students. That's really big university. At that time, IIT Madras had 2,300 students, right? About 300 faculty. So the way that IIT had developed, I think it's successive directors and mostly faculty and students. They put in a lot of efforts. So I had I mean, if I go back and if I have to take a decision, I am sure I'll happily take the same set of decisions that I have taken.
Okay. Maybe I'll ask you a little bit about, now you talked a lot about the department. I'll ask you a little bit about the wider institute, maybe including administration, maybe the campus life and so on. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, I had seen administration in those days as a student, so I do not know what was the relationship between the faculty and the administration. As a student, I don't think we have changed a lot in terms of administering the students. You have the same administrative structure in the hostel, warden, chairman, council of warden, and similarly in the academic section you have deputy registrars. But by and large, from the student's perspective, administration was always a problem, right? Because I can understand now, because I was also an administrator. Students think that they should get something, right? And that is not what the system can allow. Now later, when I became faculty and started liaising with the administration, I again felt that it's quite complex and a lot of red tapeism is there. It was there actually, right? You were not privy to many things, right? Even the department decisions were done only by 5 or 6 people. I mean, unlike now, we never had a faculty meeting. It was something called DCC meeting, the Department Consultative Committee meeting. And all decisions of the department was taken by these 5 or 6 people. And similarly, there was also problem with economy. As I said, my salary was 700 rupees. In terms of US dollar, it was $50 in those days, right? You can understand. Today it's not bad if somebody joins as an assistant professor. Maybe their salary will go $1,000, so it's 20 times, and everything was beyond the reach. Right? A two-wheeler would cost about 10,000 rupees, which is roughly 10 months or 12 months salary, and a car 100 months, 120 months salary. right? And going abroad was a real task. Right? The institute used to give support. You can also take money from your project if you have project. But the most difficult thing is to get the foreign exchange. To get a foreign exchange, you have to go to Reserve Bank, right? And minimum 2 days. You have to go on one day,
Okay.
make all the application forms, and then go on the next day to collect the permission.
And was it easy to get the permission from RBI coming from IIT Madras?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was straightforward,
Okay.
but still you have to waste your time.
Okay.
You go there, stand in the queue,
Okay.
right? Make the application, and go back and collect the order next day, and come to State Bank of India and collect the foreign exchange. And so that slowly changed. Similarly, on the administration side, it was not very easy to get information and understand what was going on. Right? Some things still continue. You send a letter, you never get a reply, right? And you don't know why you did not get a reply. But things really started changing, and I mean, successive heads of the department did bring in some kind of transparency in that, and the by and large, only in the 2000 onwards, we get to know about budget and what is available. The budget in those days was allocated, it was also not much. The amount of money used to get as a budget from government is not that much, and you always had to submit projects, or you'll have to get industry money to do your research. But getting projects was not a big problem. I mean, you will have to sit down, work hard, make a proposal, send it to the government, and you will get 50% funded.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I still don't know what happened at Delhi. Right?
Okay.
You want X rupees, you will get X by 2.
Okay.
Right? So if
Okay.
you, I mean, we also started learning, if you want X by 2, ask for X.
X, correct.
Right? So the other thing was infrastructure. We had just one canteen, initially called Knick-Knack Restaurant, which was very nice. It was run by a old couple. We used to call the person Nair, I don't even know his name. Is to make nice. It was in the present New Academy Complex,
Okay.
next to my earlier bus bay.
Okay.
Then apart from that, you had individual hostel messes. Then lot of complaints about the canteen started coming. They closed the Knick-Knack Restaurant, which I really liked. I mean, many people did not like it, but I liked it. Then there was a foundation called SCARF, Schizophrenia Care and Rehabilitation Foundation, SCARF. They started a canteen called Akshaya, and that canteen ran, and that was also not, people did not like. And then we had Campus Cafe and Akshaya running together. Of course, today you know Food for Thought, Campus Cafe,
Yes.
everything is there. And if you are in the hostel, if you want to get some food, either you have to go to Taramani or Velachery, one of these two places. There were no Quark, there was no Gurunath or Leo Fachin, right? Everything was outside. So, and as the institute started growing, uh, the now the student strength was increased, and of course we also got quite a bit of funding because of the increased student strength, and electrical department from 60 went to 120, now we are 150. The other things also started growing up. Number of hostels started increasing, and even the old hostels were additional rooms were added, and we are still continuing. Mandakini is rebuilt with 10
Yes.
floors now. But I mean, throughout my life here, last 38 years, we always had first year staying two in a row. Right?
Okay, yes,
mean,
yes, I think so.
As an administrator, I know, I became a dean 5 years ago. At that time, I was part of the planning, and we planned Tunga and Bhadra and remodeling Mandakini. We thought we will be comfortable, right? And suddenly came the OBC reservation, so we had to increase the strength by 50%. Then now, 2 years back, we had EWS reservation, we had to increase another 25%. Right? So the student strength is going up and up and up, and we have to provide infrastructure for that, and there is always a lag. So by and large, I had seen the institute really grow fivefolds from what I entered at the time. Not only in that, as I said, there were only 3 PhD positions
Yes,
in the electrical department. Now we have 40.
yes, yes.
Right? And that was, I mean, phenomenal growth. The second was, see, at that point when I entered IIT Madras, even as a student, I used to work with industries. Right? And when I started my career in 1984, in fact, I was told that I should cut that. I am being paid by
I
the
see.
government. I am not supposed to give service to
Okay.
anybody else other than IIT Madras.
This was the days before ICSR existed?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I was not very happy with that. And I used to frankly talk to Professor Murthy and Professor Shankaran saying that, look, that I really love doing that. I mean, when I do something for somebody and they make a product and sell and make money, I mean, as a student, I used to get some money from the industry. Right? But once I became a faculty, I said, I will not collect money, but don't stop me from doing something. And in a big way, many of us thought we should help industry. And I am not sure whether I was actually a catalyst in that. Then Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala joined, and he went hammer and tongue. And there was a committee under Professor V.G.K. Murthy was constituted, and we went back to government. We got permission to start ICSR. The ICSR emblem was designed by Professor V.G.K. Murthy.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
In fact, I did the drawing.
Okay.
I am good at drawing. So, and so a lot of good things happened. Right? With ICSR opening up, I started again working with the industry and doing a lot of things for them. The other thing that the institute did, but at that time did not succeed, was something like our research park. Right?
Okay.
It was started by Professor Indra Singh. It was called CRD, Center for Rural Development. We got 1 crore loan from Canara Bank. But that was big failure. Right? 3 years down the line, things didn't simply succeed. Right? And that also put the kind of lethargy in me, saying that, okay, we are not good at making money. Right? Again, Professor Ashok, Professor Bhaskar, they showed that it is not correct. I learned, because I was involved in CRD, I was also sort of, I was not really involved, but I went along with research part. The big difference is when we started CRD, we didn't understand business. Right? There was absolutely no business model. Right? Believe me, Aniruddhan, we never bothered about income and expenditure.
Oh, I see.
We bothered about what we are doing,
Okay.
what technology we can take it to the masses, what technology will help them.
That's
Right?
like a professor's mind rather
Yes.
than a business mind.
We were looking only at the ways and means of the end product, not about money. Right? And that was a big difference. That made a big difference. So, if you really want to liaise with industry, if you don't have a business model, it will be a failure. It will going to be a failure. I mean, that was something I learned. I mean, as I said, I learned a lot, right, in my last 38 years. Also, IIT was one place where you can get things done. Right? Let me give you a simple example. This was 92 or 93. I was looking after the instrumentation part of wave energy project, and you know, wave energy Kaizen was in Trivandrum. So I had to go to Trivandrum every month to take care of the technical things. Even though we had project associates, I used to go there, check everything. So in those days, if you are an assistant professor, you cannot fly. The rule is that you have to go by train. The Trivandrum mail will start at about 7 o'clock in the evening here and reach at 2 o'clock next day afternoon. Right? So if you reach Trivandrum at 2 o'clock, that whole day is gone. Right? And I will get only 4 working days for the project to take leave. So I wrote to Department of Ocean Development. That time it was not ministry. Now it's called MES, Ministry of Environment Science. Department of Ocean Development, saying that I have this problem. I mean, in my project I can afford the flight charges. Can I get permission to fly? I got a usual reply saying that we have no problem. If your institute allows, you can fly. So with that, I went to Professor Raju, who was the Dean at ICSR at the time, and I told him, sir, I want this facility. And I also told him returning is not a problem because I'll always go such that I return either on Saturday or Sunday. Right? And the return will come early in the morning. Right? 6:37, the Toronto mail will reach, and you can come and even take 8 o'clock class. It's not a big problem. So he said, okay. So he said, permitted. And then it went to the deputy registrar. Deputy registrar said, sir, not possible. Assistant professors cannot take flight. You have to go by train. Then I don't know. I mean, normally I would have just left it and gone. Somehow I thought, not correct. I did so much. I asked the government. Government has said yes. Why institute should be in my way? So I took the paper, went back to Professor Raju and said, sir, thank you for your signature. It has no value. He got mine. Right? So he said, what do you mean by it has no value? He said, Karnagaran says that it cannot be done. So he called Karnataka and he said, did you see that I have approved? Yes, sir. Sir, but the rule is assistant professors cannot travel by aeroplane. I said, I know the rule. And he also knows the rule. He got the permission from the government. Now, as dean, I have approved. If you tell me that I don't have powers, you tell me who has the powers. Our director, I will get his signature. Or our chairman, I will get his signature. Or president, I will get his signature. I mean, this is exactly what he said. Then Karnatharan said, sir, I will look up. Then he went back. I was about to leave. He said, Jagadeesh Kumar, you sit, you will have to find a solution. So after some time he came back and said, sir, dean has power to sanction. I said, okay, fine. So I started. That's the first time I knew that in a system like ours, I am fairly certain if we are not an autonomous institution and we are like any government engineering college, that could not have happened. And I am also quite happy and convinced that the academic administrators that we had, successive academic administrators, saw to it that whatever administrative freedom within the gambit of government rules that would make the institute grow well was always implemented. Right? So, and believe me, in those days, even if I have to buy 1 rupee resistor, right, the amount of paperwork that I have to do is phenomenal. Today it is sort of still not gone completely, but compared to what I had endured in procurement, today is not that big a problem. We have eased the administrative side. At the same time, I also know from the student and faculty point of view, we will have to do a lot more on the administrative freedom given to faculty and students if we really want to be on par with any good university in the world.
Okay. Maybe I'll go to a different tack. I'd like to ask you a little bit about housing, because you talked about your stay in hostel. So after you joined as a full-time, you said senior scientific officer and then lecturer. So can you tell us a little bit about the housing situation on campus?
Okay, the institute started in 59. I came here in 77. By the time the institute has attained a plateau, which meant all the recruitments were filled. Right? There were very few new recruitments, and the housing was a problem. I joined in 1984, July 4th, but it took me 4 years. Only in 1988, I got my 1-bedroom apartment.
I see.
Right? I mean, as a lecturer, you are eligible to get C1, right? And below C1 is D. Below D is D1, right? Even to get 2, I had to wait for 4 years, which was really tough. And though I got married in 1986, till 1987 I did not vacate my hostel. I kept it. Successive chairman council of ordnance used to threaten me, saying that everything will be thrown out of my room, and I used to plead with them, saying that look, I need to work late in the night, and sometimes I can't go home. I need a place to crash. I am keeping it only for that. And but once I got the D1119, it no longer exists. It's converted into a 2-bedroom apartment now. The things became all right. But as I said, till people started retiring, right, houses never became vacant. Okay, so I mean, that's the same with me also. I mean, I 38 years, out of which I think 10 years I stayed in D1, and another 10 years I stayed in D, and 17 years also in present. C2 and 3 years in the present. And also not many new quarters were being built. Right? The first set of new buildings were mainly the new Ds, D31 and D32. Then came C2s, C21, C22, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then of course the most recent addition is B26, 27 and B28.
Yes.
I being born and brought up in Chennai, I had no problem per se, because I always had some place to stay in Chennai. Right? But I could also see that people coming from outside had tough time found housing. This again, I have watched when the new Ds were built and the C2s were planned. I was in the infrastructure committee on the electrical side, and I thought, things will become normal. Not so. As I said, the student strength increased, faculty strength increased from 300 faculty. Now we have 600 plus,
600.
right? And the number of quarters has not doubled. Right? So we still have to go a long way. But I don't know. I had seen other universities abroad. There is no university which can provide housing for everybody.
Yes, of course.
Right?
Yes.
And the basic thing is, today if you look at the surrounding of IIT, you can get a decent housing. Which was not true when I joined in 1984. Vadacheri village, there was nothing. And the closest was either Adyar or Sedapet, and that means you have to commute. And that was a problem. But I think the way the planning is being done, the way that we are growing up, we may not be able to sustain this kind of growth on this campus. Right?
Okay.
Fortunately, we have an alternate campus. I don't know how logistics will work in the other campus. But by and large, very soon we will hit a saturation point.
Okay.
We cannot keep building more and more. We keep going vertical. Even that
Yes.
would saturate.
Yes.
And in our department, I think the space is going to be a little bit ease up because of the new building. But Aniruddhan, please believe me, that's not enough.
Yes.
Right? Because I don't know whether you know, the sanctioned faculty strength for our department is 90.
Yes.
We are
I
only
have
63.
Yes.
Right? Just imagine another 30 people joining and asking for space.
Yes. Definitely not enough.
It's not enough.
Yes. So I'll move forward a few years and ask you. You have headed other. You talked about your deanship, so I'll come to that. But before that, I wanted to ask you about your tenure at CEC. You served as the head of CEC.
Yeah, I will actually start with my administrative experience at IIT. When I was in D-type quarters, my neighbor was Professor Jagadeesh Kumar, and I always used to make friends, and we became very good friends. Right? In fact, out of the department, I had very good friends in all the other departments. Right? Professor A. Venkatesh from mechanical engineering, Professor B. Ramamurthy, mechanical engineering, Srinivasan in civil. I can call them really close friends, in the sense I can walk into their house and ask them for a cup of coffee. So he completed his tenure as warden of Jamuna Hostel. So he called me one day and said, Jagadeesh Kumar, you take over. And I said, fine. So I became warden of Jamuna Hostel. And uh, to be frank, I literally changed a lot there, right? Because I was a student in the hostel, I knew what all the
issues
is,
are,
right?
yeah.
So I called the student meeting and told them, I want 2 people to spend 1 day in the year, right? And I told them, you will be responsible for the stores and the mess. I mean, those days that was the only problem. Right? Students always used to complain the mess is bad, food is bad, and there are a lot of stuff is going away, and we are wasting, we are paying through our nose. So I put students in charge of distributing the material. I also told them, you stay there, taste the food. If something is wrong, tell the cook, right? And that worked. I mean, students really liked, and the mess bill came down by 1 rupee a day. 30
Okay,
rupees.
30.
Again, today 30 rupees looks very small. When I joined IIT Madras in 1978, the mess bill was 85 rupees a month.
Okay.
Right? And my scholarship was 250 rupees. Okay. So, of course, when I was warden, it was almost 300 rupees. So, it was 10% reduction. So, I had a very nice rapport with the hostel students. And when I was about to complete, by the time I was also working with Professor Ravindran, who was working with me. I mean, I was working under him in the wave energy part. He was the mechanical expert. So he was handing over as chairman 101. So because he knew me well, he said, Jagadeesh Kumar, you take over. I have done something, I want you to continue. So I took over Vanavani, and again, not to raise my collar, it was started by Professor Ravindran, but I continued. We completely revamped Vanavani. We built 2 new staircases. The old buildings were not very nice, and we built a new nursery section with all playthings. There was no playthings in the nursery section.
Okay.
Because it was created only in my tenure. And the primary was completely revamped, and we didn't throw away, we donated all the old chairs and tables to Valacheri Corporation School, and I put a new one. And we also went big on administrative change. We went from society to trust.
Okay.
With the director holding all the powers. The other time there was a society which used to fight with the institute, right? Which was not very nice. So Vanavani came under the gambit of director directly during not my tenure. It's, as I said, started with Professor Ravindran. I continued along with Professor Shanti Kumar. He was the dean of academic courses at the time. And I was about to finish my chairmanship. This I had no friends to push me. I became the vice chairman of GATE. So I joined the GATE team. So 3 years I spent in GATE, 2005, 6 and 7. And so by this time a lot of things were happening. Not NPTEL, the precursor of NPTEL, I forgot the name, was there, and Professor R. Krishna Rao, Professor V.G.K. Murthy, everybody were recording lectures. Because of that, also because of other things, when I became a faculty, something that took a lot of beating was my hobby, right? I couldn't find time, and because of that, my learning also has started. I was teaching the same thing year after year, semester after semester. I'm doing my research, that is different, but so when I asked Professor V.C.K. Murthy, then he said the best way is teach a different subject. Right? So I went to Professor Ramasamy and asked him, next semester I want to teach digital systems. That was fun. Professor Srinivasan came to my room and said, what do you want? Then I told him, sir, I want to learn. Oh, then you can sit in my class. No, sir, I cannot learn by sitting in your class. I have to teach. Right? With great difficulty, I got to teach digital systems. And of course, I have to place on record the excellent help I got from Srinivasan. He gave me all his notes, right, his assignment, tutorial sheets. So I taught it twice and then said, okay, fine, I will go back to my measurements. Also, by that time, people started retiring and no one was able to teach electric and magnetic circuit, networks and systems, and measurements and instrumentation systems, telemetry. So that was one thing that I really enjoyed, teaching digital systems for 2 successive semesters. And Professor Srinivasan was a real, I mean, he never believed anybody. He would sit in my class.
I see.
See whether I am teaching digital systems
correctly or not. So I guess this digital systems was taught by you in the late 90s or so, early 2000s?
Yeah, digital systems I taught, I don't exactly remember. This was after I returned from Germany.
Okay.
Must be 94, 95.
Oh, 94, 95. Okay. Did you also develop, you talked about your research in biomedical instrumentation. Did you also develop some courses both for our own students as well as for NPTEL or something like that?
No, I didn't develop any course on biomedical instrumentation as such. But what we did was we used to give special courses.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right?
So that's how
Kind
you
of
would
a
train
workshop.
your.
Yeah,
Okay.
workshop.
Okay. So you train your MS and PhD students through those things. Okay. Okay. And I think so. Then your administrative experience after that went to CEC.
After I finished chairmanship,
Okay.
director one day called me and said, you take over as HOD.
Oh, as HOD.
Just after.
Okay.
I left my chairmanship, gate chairmanship on 30th June 2007, and 1st July 2007 I took over as HOD.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Then 3 years, this again, Professor Srinivasan has done a lot of new things, especially in faculty recruitment, in conducting the DCCs. He said, I won't have DCC, I'll have faculty.
Okay.
So we used to have all the faculty taking decisions, number one. Number two, even in the recruitment, earlier we used to send one number from the department, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. He said, nothing doing, we will write 1 page recommendation for the new faculty that we are getting, as well as for the people who are getting promoted. Okay. So the task was given to me and Professor Jagadeesh.
Okay.
Right. So, and because Jagadeesh was a taskmaster, whatever I wrote, he will not be happy. So we started this habit of sending recommendation to the selection committee. That had a really big effect, right? So in my 3 years as HOD, we had 2 recruitments and we had no rejections. Right. I mean, everybody thought, oh, Jagadeesh Kumar is great. No, it is not true. It is actually Srinivasan who put the process. I continued with the process and saw to it. And we also started telling people if they are on the borderline, saying that don't take a risk, apply next time. So that is something that I really enjoyed as administrator. I mean, in all my administration, the very first wardenship I enjoyed, because I was very young at the time. I was also with the youngsters, and it gelled. When I became head of the department, again the department was really growing up. We had a lot of money, right? And I mean, the things moved very smoothly for me as head of the department. I had no regrets.
I was one of those who was recruited when you were the HOD.
Yes, I know.
More recently, I'd like to talk a little bit about your deanship. So, can you tell us a little bit about your tenure as the deanship and?
Yeah, I mean, when before getting the Dean Academic Courses, I really wanted to be Dean Administration, right?
Okay.
I had seen the kind of roles that we have, and I strongly believed that if I become a Dean Administration, I can change things around, right? But I did not become a Dean Admin, but I became Dean Academic Courses, and that was very, very, very difficult job. In fact, of all the administrative positions, if I look at, my contribution, whether I am satisfied with what I have done, I can bluntly say no, I have not done enough as a Dean Academic Courses. Reasons are many. There are certain things that cannot be fixed by Dean Academic Courses. Then the second thing is, in a way, I am very happy that our academics is dynamics. Right? It's very dynamic. Semester after semester it changes, but that puts lot of stress on the academic administrator, especially Dean Academic Courses. Right? Believe me, I took over in 2016. The first thing I said was everything about academic section must be up to date. Right? I put a committee under Professor Sarathi. One faculty member from each department was in that committee, and I said, I don't want any course to be vacant. All courses must have this structure, right? Outcome of the course, syllabus of the course, books, textbooks, everything must be there. So they worked hard. By end of 2016, I went to workflow. I found everything is fine and nice. Okay, I thought, nice. 2017, I get an email from Anil saying that, Jagadeesh Kumar, what is this? 120 courses are blank. I said, what? I went through again. So this has to be done semester wise. I mean, as recent as this semester, I looked at the courses, and one of the courses that I was teaching, I have not taught for the last 5 years as dean, right, is blank, right, power system instrumentation. So I had to now prepare everything up to date. So the problem is, because the section itself is dynamically changing semester after semester, it requires a lot of effort.
Continuous effort, I guess.
Continuous effort to do. The other problem is the one thing that we do not, students may complain a lot, but one thing we do not do in the institute is leave the student to the fate. We find a solution. whatever unsolvable problem, we find a solution. And today we have 9,637 students in our on our rolls. I am fairly certain 9,300 students don't know me and I don't know them. In the sense, I have not met them. But the other 367 students, they take all the time of the dean academic courses. Some are genuine problems, some are problems created by the students themselves, some are systemic problems. But the thing is, you have to solve. I mean, you cannot say, oh, it's okay, you go without a degree. We don't do that, right? We even if the student is not cooperative, we try to help the student, and that is something I am proud of about our academic section. Students, again, I know many of them are not very happy with that because we always work with constraints, right? So the deanship, I worked a lot. I mean, in terms of other administrative positions, let's say I may, as a warden, I used to work half an hour every day, right? I will go during lunch hour, stay in the warden's room, and I used to tell the students, if you want to meet me, this is the time, right? 12:30 to 1. And the Vanavani, I used to go only in the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. As HOD, of course, I was sitting all the time in the room, but I was not actually doing HOD's work. I was doing my academic work most of the time. But as a dean, minimum 5 hours a day, right? Especially last 1.5 years pandemic, I used to spend 3 hours a day just replying to emails.
Oh.
Any email a student sends to me, I will reply. I will not just delete it without replying. So that used to take a lot of time for me, but not really productive. I mean, I am solving problems, but the one good thing that happened despite that I could not contribute was again, thanks to Professor Bhaskar, the IDDD programs. I mean, people attribute it to me because it happened during my deanship, but the creator was Professor Bhaskar, and I only worked with the group, did all the official things that has to be done to create an IDDD program. That happened, and similarly the web-enabled MTech happened during my tenure.
Yes.
That was a real, I would say, forward-looking aspect from our institute. I don't think any other institute has that. The last, of course, was not actually from the academic section, is Professor Andrews, BSc, online BSc.
The online BSc.
I mean, these are things that really pushed our institute to the forefront. And the one thing that made a big difference is all these programs were thought through. And the one thing that again I am quite happy about is that we didn't just start a program like that. We did a market survey, we had the interviews with the industry, right? All these programs are industry oriented, okay? And we also got an unwritten agreement from the industry that all the IDDD students will get at least 2 months internship in an industry,
Okay.
right? If it is data science, they will get internship in data science industry, and they are getting it, okay? And we also decided to make this completely hassle-free, right? Completely student-friendly. A student can decide to do whatever he or she wants to do in IDDD program. Lot of flexibility we have given, including facility to leave. right? In fact, the one thing I tried to argue with the student, convince the student, IDT student who joined as a BTech, spent 1 year in data science, and the end of 10th month, he decided, I don't want, give me BTech, I'll go. Right?
Okay.
We couldn't stop him because the rules are that he can leave
He can leave
anytime.
anywhere. Okay.
Right? So he got his BTech, and of course he got a very nice opportunity in US.
Okay.
So I can understand from his point of view.
Of
There is no
course.
point in delaying and getting another MTech from IIT Madras. So he student.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I talked to him for 1 hour, right? Trying to convince him, just delay your admission in Caltech by 3 months. You can complete and go.
Okay.
He said, no sir, I have decided.
Okay.
So the basic thing is, as long as we plan taking all constraints into account, things will succeed. I mean, I am really convinced that IIT Madras will continue to push ahead. For our country to really pull out and be on par with the developed nations, we need to improve our infrastructure. And that is a very key aspect. At least I am personally convinced that is necessary. In fact, the first time I went to Germany, the first thing that struck me was, it is true even today. You can take a German map, blindly put a point there, right? Close your eyes and put a point. Travel in any direction, right? All 360 degrees, any direction. Within 60 kilometers, you will get to a big university, very big university,
I see.
right? You can try that,
Okay.
right? 40,000 students. And please note that Germany is slightly bigger than Tamil Nadu, right?
Yes.
Which means we need lots and lots of IITs in our country. Right?
Correct.
Or something similar to IITs with 10,000, 20,000 students. So that we need, that quality education we need.
So, sir, you have given us a lot of anecdotes, here and there. Do you have any other anecdotes you would like to
Okay.
share with us?
Yeah, and certain things that I really enjoyed in my life is, I already told you about Professor Raju giving me.
Yes.
The other thing was, in the first measurements course, I was paralleling with Professor V.K. Murthy, and after the first quiz, we were distributing the answer books, and this was ESB 127. There were, I think by that time, 70 students were there. The ESB 127 was not that big.
Yes.
Earlier, 127 and 128
120
was
merged.
to
Yes.
make a big room. So I was distributing on this side, and Professor V.K. Murthy was distributing on that side. And one student received the answer book. He said, "Professor, 1 mark out of." Professor V.K. Murthy was distributing it out of pity, young man, out of pity. I started laughing. I couldn't stop laughing. And the second thing I really enjoyed with Professor V.K. Murthy was, he was teaching digital filters, right? And he was using a notation for the this thing, and one student objected, saying that this particular book has a different notation and that is confusing, you should not use it. And then you have to look at that. So, hereafter, this is the variable I am going to use. You drew a house.
Okay.
And the entire
I see.
that variable was house. And the other thing was, Professor Bapeshwara was a fan of puzzles. Right? I mean, he used to I don't know where he used to get those tough puzzles. He will bring it, and I mean, we used to take kind of a pride in who gets first, right? Who gets to solve it first. And Professor Shankaran always used to say, I am wasting my time. Because even though Professor Shankaran and Vapeshwara were very close friends, they had diametrically opposite views, right? Professor Shankaran was methodical, organized, perfect. Professor Vapeshwara was completely, that's it, right? And the thing is, in those days, only measurements section had a tea club.
Okay.
Right? We used to get tea at 10 o'clock and at 3 o'clock. Right? And that was another reason why, as soon as I became the head of the department, I opened the tea shop.
Tea shop. Okay.
Right? That was again. See that you know that tea shop as a corridor, right?
Yes, yes, correct.
Okay. I wanted to put lamps and fan.
Okay.
So I asked head of the department. I said, please fix fans in the corridor. And then came the reply from who was the chief engineer at the time? Kumaran, you remember? Malayalam. Malayalam wrote back saying that you can't fix fans in the corridor. Right? So I said, okay, I want a door for this corridor. So immediately they built the door, and then I put a lunch room. Then I wrote for my lunch room, please put the fans, right? And this, the system has certain rules, and if you want things to move forward, you will have to find ways and means of not breaking the rules, but working within the rules, right? So you can't put fans in the corridor, but you can put a fan in the lunch room, right? And this is the same thing when I started working on the microcontrollers. There were no hard disks, right? Floppy disk came much later. So all the storage was on tapes, cassette tapes, right? And so I wanted to get a tape recorder. So I found there was a Philips cassette recorder. I got the quotation, made an order and sent it. This was when I was lecturer. And again the order came back saying that you can't buy entertainment items. Tape recorders and entertainment. So I didn't know what to do. So I went to Professor Murthy. He also didn't have any this thing. Professor Vapeshwara was the one who said, why do you call it as a tape recorder? Give it to me. He said magnetic data recorder.
I see.
And it went through. I got the Philips.
Okay.
The labs. We had, in our present curriculum, we have reduced the number of labs, which I think is not a right decision. But unfortunately, when you shrink 5 years to 4 years, right, and 210 credits to 143 credits, something has to go.
Yes.
Right? You can't keep everything and say, I have reduced. So the 2 measurements courses became 1 measurement course. Now that has become 1 measurement course plus lab.
Plus lab, that's right. That's right.
Lab is separate and now lab is not separate. So I do understand you can't keep teaching the same stuff again and again and again. Something has to be thrown out. But I still feel we must actually put more lab classes. Lab classes used to be fun. Right? And
Yes.
In those days, each experiment one faculty will look after, not the teaching assistant.
I see.
We used to have teaching assistants. As a PhD, I was doing a teaching assistant, but there will be a faculty, right? And if you take measurements lab, of course, at that time we had 9 faculty, right? But even then, people like Professor Sridhar Rao, Sashid Rao. They used to come to measurements lab and conduct machines.
Okay.
I used to go to the machines lab and conduct machines experiments. That was really a nice thing, which I really miss. Right?
Okay. Okay.
Today, we have the integrated electronics laboratory and large number of students do labs. In between, I tried to bring that, especially for the measurements laboratory, but it's not sustainable. It's very difficult. I had to run all the afternoons. So somehow, even now, I don't put more than 2 people in a batch.
Okay.
Right? So because of that, the measurements labs are always conducted in Saturdays, morning and afternoon. The second thing was the experiments kept on changing. I mean, that I liked. I still try to do that. Every year I try to put one new experiment into the curriculum, but not at the level of Bapeshwar Rao, Professor Shankaran and Professor K. Montis. So as a teaching assistant, that used to be tough, right? You take the measurements lab this year, and next year art semester, oh, I have done this experiment. You go there, it's completely changed, right? And suddenly fuse testing. Oh, what? I have to learn, right? What is fuse? What its characteristics? How to test it? Conduct the experiment once, then only I can go and teach the other students. So that is something we are missing.
So, sir, thank you so much for this interaction and telling us so much about a important period of IIT Madras's growth, from being relatively maybe 200, 300 faculty to 600 faculty, 2,000 students to about 10,000 students, and I think everything, funding, everything has grown for the institute during that period. Thank you so much for telling us about this.
Thank you, sir.